Here we are, two more dudes with a podcast in front of the Great Wall of Boston merch, I guess you could say.
I'd say it's an above average wall for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a green monster by any means.
We had a name for that tree, and we call it the Green Monster.
I think the idea with these videos and these podcasts is to just kind of tell stories about the shows we've been to. We've been to 22 Pearl Jam shows together, and you've been to how many without me?
I've been to 35, so that must mean I've been to 13 without you.
We plan to talk about all of those in addition to the other concerts we've been to, Guster and Radiohead. And if you're a Giants fan, I think we got plenty of Giants games we can talk about too. So
Giant adjacent content.
Giant adjacent content, yes, exactly.
I figured we'd start by me pulling out a guitar and playing every song I've ever seen Pearl Jam do live.
At some point, I'd like to do like interviews with people over Zoom. I don't know if you'll be involved in all of those, but I think that would be really fun. I hope you'll stay tuned, tag along. It's going to be fun. I thought for now we could start by just kind of talking about how we got into Pearl Jam. I would kind of assume they're your favorite band. They're my favorite band.
They are my favorite band, yeah.
Yeah, the songs and the live experience both. I don't think there's any other band that I like more for either of those. So why don't you start with that? I think you got into them a little bit before I did.
I did. I kind of knew the hits as they were, as they hit the radio, especially the Vitalogy era, because I was entering double digits at that time. I do remember Better Man being new on the radio, and some of the songs after that, I was certainly listening to radio when Wish List was new and Given to Fly and some of that Jack Irons era. But I had always associated them with being kind of a ballad band. So the big songs I knew were Yellow Ledbetter and Black, and although I liked them, they didn't intrigue me as much as Nirvana and some of the other stuff out of the 90s. The year 2000, my sophomore year in high school, one of our football captains was a big Pearl Jam fan, and he would put them on in the locker room. I was like, wow, these guys play rock music. I had thought they were a really polished kind of ballady pop band, 70s, 80s throwback sort of thing, and hearing Alive and Once and some of the more frantic, heavier stuff got me into it. As they released the 2000 tour bootlegs, I remember seeing the new batches as they got added to Circuit City, because that's where I used to shop for CDs, and I'd go through the bootlegs and try to find the ones with set lists that I liked and had the songs I liked on them, which is at the time would have been like Once, Porch, Alive, although most of the US CDs, only the last Seattle show had Alive. Following Roskilde, but some of the 2000 bootlegs had it. And I got the 10th anniversary show in Las Vegas. I got the Camden, New Jersey show, which was dubbed Philadelphia, from September of 2000, and just absolutely fell in love with the performances on those bootlegs. And the material that actually really attracted me was Insignificance and Breaker Fall and the songs that were on binaural, although I didn't know what records they were on at the time. So it was kind of interesting to me that coming at it from an unbiased perspective, because I didn't know where the different songs came from other than maybe 10 and Yield. The stuff I ended up really liking when I started getting into the albums were from binaural, which was the album they were touring with at the time. Yeah. So I had a few of the bootlegs. I remember when I found the Seattle one and found out the story of why they hadn't played Alive in all that time, but loving that bootleg and the version of the song and the whole show. But hearing Ed talk about not necessarily doing this anymore and having an ominous feeling of, and he kind of clarified and said, well, I mean, we might not be relevant anymore, and kind of backtrack a little, but it really felt like that might be it for them. I thought that they were going to be my new favorite band that I never got to see until they announced the Riot Act record and the upcoming tour, which I was absolutely thrilled with, knowing I was going to see them, never thinking I was going to see them 35 times, but I knew I had to go, which we'll get into a bit more later.
Yeah, I do remember at the time I got into them just after you. It was because of you, basically. But at the time, just thinking, man, this band's been around for so long. It definitely felt like coming up on the end of their career because
Mm-hmm.
they had been around for 10 years, a little more than 10 years at that point.
Well, when you heard Alive live, it was 12 years old, and that felt like a lifetime because at the time that was over half a lifetime ago.
Well, I didn't see Alive till 2006.
That's true.
So,
2006 for
yeah.
you.
But yeah, it definitely just felt like we were getting into them at the end of their career, and it was like, oh man, if only we had gotten to them earlier, or whatever. But I would just like to point out that I'm very sweaty because I finished putting the set together, let's say 15 minutes ago. It was more than that, but let's say 15
It was
minutes.
about 2 minutes before we started taping.
Yeah.
Greg got nice and lathered up for the taping of the podcast.
I did.
He always does.
I ran in circles around the house too, 100 times. I remember having a class in 8th grade. It was like a music class, and we had to do a presentation of a band. It could be any band. We got bonus points if, I don't remember if it was a band that the teacher had never seen done before or just that year or what it was. But I was flipping through your Columbia House purchases. So I don't remember a ton of other stuff that was in there. I remember, I think like Fuel and maybe Nickelback.
Collective Soul.
Collective Soul.
Yeah,
Collective Soul was in there. Bush. And 10 was in there. So I listened to 10.
I just want to point out, this was not Silver Side Up Nickelback. This is the one with The State, which it might still be inexcusable, but this is pre-fame.
Before everyone turned on them.
Before How You Remind Me and everything else.
Yeah, no, this is pre-photograph, pre-graph.
Look at this graph.
Yeah, I found 10, and Pearl Jam was a band that had not been done. So I listened through it, and I remember the first song I really fell in love with was Jeremy. And then it was kind of like one by one on that album, like falling in love with the songs on 10. Alive and Porch, Release, which is still one of my favorite songs by them. I basically just decided, all right, I'll do a project on this band. And then I think that's when you had bought the first bootleg.
I bought some bootlegs by
then. You bought some
Yep.
bootlegs from the year 2000, and we listened to those one by one, bought more studio albums. I remember not doing very well in the presentation. I had like a really good tight presentation with games at the end. And then somebody else did a presentation, and it was longer than mine. So I went completely the opposite direction. I had a much, much longer like story of the band and stuff. And I was reading through it, and I could just like hear people falling asleep. It did not go over well.
What does it sound like when someone falls asleep? Did they start snoring?
Yeah.
I got you.
I guess it was a visual thing. You see the head hit the desk, and you're like, ooh.
Oof.
This is not working as intended. You want to get people excited about the band.
They weren't excited.
They were not excited about the band. They were excited when I was finished.
About the Mookie Blaylock saga?
Maybe they were, because I was so early on in the story, but it was like it went from like 3 pages double spaced to about 7 pages single spaced.
My goodness.
So it was overkill for sure. It was overkill, but that was just the start of it. They've been my favorite band ever since. I was 8th grade.
I remember seeing an acrostic from your assignment, and it said Pearl, Pearl, down, and then jam using the same A.
How clever is that?
I've always just hoped against hope that they would somehow incorporate that Pearl Jam name acrostic into
they haven't even discovered that yet. They have. Just you wait.
Well,
they don't realize.
You probably put them to sleep with your presentation.
Probably.
They didn't stay awake that long.
Oh God, yeah, it was rough. We're talking about 2001 right now, but 2003 rolls around. A new album is coming out, Riot Act. That was the first album that came out while we were fans. That was wild.
What's kind of funny to me, my experience at the time versus the experience of being a fan of modern day Pearl Jam, was I just thought, these guys put stuff out all the time. There's so much music coming from Pearl Jam. I bet over the next 10 years, there's going to be so many albums, because you had the 2000 bootleg explosion. You had Riot Act. And shortly after that, we had the double disc Lost Dogs, which they only did a little bit of actual recording for, but it was new music from them. And of course, the holiday singles I had discovered were coming out annually. And I just thought, this is the most prolific band. And then you hit Avocado, and
they pumped the brakes a bit.
Yeah, they pumped the brakes over the next 15 years or so. let's see, Avocado 2006,
2006.
and then the last record was just a couple of years ago. So four albums over that span wasn't what I expected, but yeah, what are you gonna do?
They're still making music.
They're still making
it's still
music.
good. Still holding out hope for Lost Dogs 2 also.
Yeah.
You never know.
I'm holding out hope that they get a drummer.
Yeah, that would be good.
I think that
what
would
if they
be
just
really
tour
fun.
without a drummer? What if they did? And he comes out, is like, if you could take over the drums, that would be much appreciated. This one's called In My Tree.
Thanks, Josh. In My Tree with no drums.
The crowd's just like, clap.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know.
How long would you say before they became your favorite band?
I think it was almost immediately. Although at the time, I don't think they had a lot of competition.
Okay.
I remember like the music I listened to before was The Offspring, Metallica, stuff like that.
But you were only casually into those bands.
Yeah, I mean, I was in 8th grade, so I don't know if I had ever really like fallen in love with the band before.
Nirvana had been my favorite band for years before Pearl Jam. I never really bought into the whole quote unquote rivalry. It was just kind of one-sided. It was just kind of Kurt talking shit for a little bit and then saying we're friends even though I think their band sucks, which is honest. That's fine of him.
Yeah.
I would say for me it was hearing it's the first couple bootlegs and then also the Milan, Italy bootleg, which had a great crowd and a great set. Just absolutely loved the vibe of that and thought if
2000?
I could. That was from 2000 as well. Yep. Another one I really liked, Columbus, Ohio, was from 2000, and that was from, I think, August 21st. And the football practices we had when 10 started being played in the locker room were from August 20th, 21st, and 22nd of the year 2000. I remember getting that bootleg and thinking, this is a show that was actually played during the days I was first hearing and enjoying Pearl Jam. So that bootleg was significant to me as well.
I believe you also, sometimes I say we, but I mean you, because you bought all the albums. I'm still mooching off your 10 Club membership too, but
yeah.
I believe you bought Touring Band 2000 around this time too.
Yes,
right?
yes.
The DVD. That was
yes.
fun to watch. That was good.
Yeah, they used to have an hour-long special on VH1 that they would show sometimes late at night, and I would stay up and watch it. They had a version of Do the Evolution. That was Ed's Free the West Memphis 3.
Yeah.
And that was also the great lyrical switch of I am the first man to everything.
He has some legendary...
He has some good audibles. Yeah. He has some good audibles in that section of lyrics. And this night, he came up with something that I just thought was so funny. And but that was the stuff I really liked about the band. And obviously with the bootlegs, you knew that they changed their set lists. You knew that sometimes they even butchered some things, but I just loved the spirit so much.
As much as we enjoyed those bootlegs, you really don't get the experience just from listening to the bootlegs. You don't get the energy from the crowd or even like the band, really, if you're just listening to the bootlegs. It sounds good and you get good versions of the songs.
Yeah, the crowd is obviously a big part of going to the shows, and in some ways there are certainly elements of the fan base that can be a little fanatical, but for the most part everybody's enthusiastic, everybody sings along, and I can go to shows. I make new friends almost every time I go. And with the Riot Act tour, they also came out with kind of some new fight, even though the album itself is very resigned in some ways politically. They had a lot to say, and they had a new energy, and that was palpable. I think that was a fantastic tour. The 2000, the U.S. tour was a little bit resigned because of everything that had happened. So understandably, there was not a lack of energy, but watching Touring Band 2000 and then seeing them in 2003, I felt like there was a lot more energy on stage in 2003, and going forward, that hasn't really flagged.
I watched some clips from a 2003 show earlier today, and that's one of the things I just made note of was how different their stage presence was in 2003 compared to what it is now. And I think that's like, again, echoes of Roskilde and all that. They were very, very good and very, very tight musically, but they were not as... Ed wouldn't talk to the crowd as much. They wouldn't interact with the crowd as much or jump around and do crazy things. It felt a little more low key, I guess, in that way.
Yeah, I think I do think 2003, I think they had more energy than 2000, but I think the last few tours, I don't know if I could put a date on it, but I think just ramping up since I've started seeing them, maybe 2010, I remember feeling was particularly high energy, but the way Ed runs around the stage during a live now and tries to get every part of the crowd up and make a connection with everybody, taking his guitar and shining a light around the crowd during Porch, things like that. Mike has a great connection with the crowd around him, throwing out picks and sprinting around the stage. At MSG in 2016, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but he ran into the crowd during the Alive solo. I'd never thought I'd see a member of Pearl Jam run into the crowd playing a song that was. Yeah. That was crazy, and the crowd didn't kill him either, which was also cool because you kind of have to trust your fan base to do something like that.
Yeah.
And not have it be, where people want to touch him or people were respectful and it took pictures. But doing things like that, I think, is a fairly, they do more and more of it. And that's the joy has definitely increased at the shows, which I think is cool.
My experience with the fans is incredibly positive. Very into the band. They love the music. They're very respectful. Most of them have been to multiple shows. I mean, I've seen them 22 times. Lots of people have seen them more than that. You see them 35
Sure.
times. People have seen them more than 35 times.
Yeah, people have seen them 100, 200 times.
But that's the kind of people that they are. Good fans. They love the music. They love the live experience.
Yeah, well, something we certainly aren't about. Just about anything that we get into, we're not casual about it. We're pretty diehard about everything that we choose to include in our lives, and this is definitely this is definitely an example of that for sure.
I don't think this might not be possible, but if I ever get enough money, just follow them around all tour for a tour, especially now. How many tours they have left? Like 2?
Tough to say. I'm certainly hoping that they get somebody behind the drum kit and find a way to forge ahead with some new material and find a new life. I could see them doing potentially another 10 years. I think that would be great. I could see them doing some more acoustic stuff, where they tone down the noise of their shows a little bit to have something that's maybe partly acoustic, partly electric. But I would love another 10 years. But if you told me in 2003 that we'd still get to be doing this as late as 2024, which was the last shows we went to, I would have certainly taken that. I would have been surprised, in fact. So
yeah, me too.
No complaints, although it does make me emotional thinking about.
I know the end.
At some point we're going to see that last show. Hopefully, I don't know it at the time.
Would it be better to know it at the time, or no?
It would not. No,
probably not.
I would rather have seen them and get an announcement, which is kind of what happened with REM, and I was emotional when REM called it quits. Yeah. And I had really hoped to see the songs on their last record live, but I much preferred having the good memories, but not having the weight of knowing it was my last time seeing them at that show. I think that would be a lot. That would be tough.
I feel like if I knew, I would cry every song.
Would you still piss during Even Flow though?
No.
I don't miss any songs to go to the bathroom, but Greg is an Even Flow piss break guy.
Just a brief thing about the 2 Fenway shows I went to in 2024. Even Flow's always been my piss break song. It's one I've seen many times, and it's usually very, very long.
It's long enough so you don't miss another tune.
Night 1 Fenway, it was a shorter version of Even Flow.
It was.
And I missed a tiny bit of Dark Matter. So night 2, I did not take any piss breaks.
Night 2, they played Even Flow second. That would have been really weird.
Can you imagine if I did take it? Oh my God. Like, well, they're playing it.
People would have been like, this guy's going to make us move out of the way every 2 songs.
Yes. So I don't remember exactly the year, but when Rock Band came out, I bought the full kit like immediately.
That's right.
And then Rock Band 2 came out. I bought that. I broke my drums and bought a new kit off of Nicky Anthony.
Broke your drums, that's right.
Broke my drums.
Yeah, we had a friend who was also a great rock band musician, legendary rock band drummer. Yes. It was an honor to have his kit in the house.
It was. I broke it too, eventually. The entire album of Backspacer was available on Rock Band, as was 10, and a few live versions from Drop in the Park.
Okay. Yeah, it's great to be able to play those.
Oh man,
play
we did
those
that all
songs.
the time. I think my favorite memory was Unthought Known, which was probably yours too. Maybe you can recreate it for us.
It was. Well, I couldn't hit the gems and rhinestones got a little out of my range. And so Greg would be drumming, just pounding the shit out of his drum kit because, as you've already heard, he broke multiple kits playing this game. So he's next to me pounding away and feel the sky blanket you with gems and rhinestones. And the first time I did it, Greg almost fell out of his.
Oh my god! I think I had to pause it. I think I had to pause it
off his chair, and he was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I was like, "The note's really high.
I can't hit it." I think every time we saw them play that song live since then, I've like looked over to you for that.
I laugh at that line.
Oh my god!
Gems and rhinestones.
This is not Pearl Jam related, but we did win a rock band competition.
We did.
So
it was a Halloween party, and we played Enter Sandman
on Expert.
And
it was kind of hilarious because we practiced for it, and nobody was even close.
No. I thought this was going to be stiff competition. We were dressed to the nines.
We were dressed up.
We were in superhero related costumes
with suit coats.
With suit coats on over our costume. What did we win?
I think we may have gotten like a $15 iTunes gift card
to split 4 ways.
Yeah,
so, we bought somebody bought some
3 songs,
some digital tunes with that money.
Yeah, I think there might be a way to play Rock Band again. I'd have to get another kit. Maybe we could do that for
maybe
videos,
one of the episodes will be us playing Rock Band.
We're gonna make it look like we're on stage at the TD Garden.
Are we gonna do that?
Yeah, okay. We'll figure it out.
Do you want to roughly put the albums in tiers?
I can maybe give you a top 5.
Okay.
All right.
10
versus Vitalogy, No Code.
My goodness.
I don't think I can. I'm literally just going to list their first 5 and then try to include others that aren't in their first 5. 10 and Verse is definitely in my top 5. Vitalogy, I think, is a maybe, as much as I love some of the songs on Vitalogy.
Okay.
No Code, I'd probably put in top 5. Yield and Binaural, I think I would. So that's probably it.
I almost have to clarify that it's almost just the top 5 of the moment, because you want to make it about songs or albums that historically have meant the most to you. And I think that's tough because there are albums I listen to a lot. When Avocado came out, that would have been one of my top 5 Pearl Jam albums for probably a good 4 or 5 years. And now I certainly listen to that studio record the least out of all of them. I think Gigaton is actually top 5 since the moment it was released for me. That's been a good one. You still have to include 10. This is still some of the best songs live, the biggest anthems. One of the best debut albums of all time. Yield has always been up there again since the first spin. And then it's probably the last 2 spots that are toughest to fill. But Versus was a big favorite of mine for a long time, and I still enjoy it every time I go back. Love Rearview Mirror. Might be a best song in the catalog for me. Maybe I still do include Binaural, because that was the album that got me into them, even though it was through the live recordings. That was the stuff that made me, in addition to hearing 10 all the way through, it was the live recordings of the Binaural stuff that made me want to seek more shows out and figure out where those songs came from.
I think Binaural would be my pick for underrated album. I think the songs are excellent. The production, not so much. Mm-hmm. But I do love Binaural, and that's one that I go back to and just kind of rediscover sometimes. I'll be like, I forget how good Insignificance is, or Sleight of Hand, or Parting Ways.
Yeah, Parting Ways is...
I love the new album, too. I like Dark Matter quite a bit. I wouldn't put it in my top 5, but I think it's in their...
Top half, for sure.
Top half, for sure, yeah.
All right, let's say our least favorite album on 3. 1, 2, 3, Backspacer.
Well, that was easy.
That is...
I don't hate Backspacer.
I almost thought you were going to say Riot Act. That wasn't
No,
rehearsed.
no,
I thought you were
no,
going to say Riot Act.
Riot Act is another one that's grown on me. That was probably my least favorite for a while. I think there are a decent amount of skips on Riot Act, but there's also a decent amount of songs that I think are fantastic. I love I Am Mine, Can't Keep, Love Boat Captain, All or None, Thumbing My Way, You Are. There's some excellent songs on Riot Act, but they're all also songs like maybe Bush League or Help Help.
I think you're really pushing people's buttons with Bush Leaguer.
That's a favorite, right? That's a fan favorite.
I do. I think Bob Dylan said it was that song alone should have actually gotten Pearl Jam the Nobel Prize instead of him.
Oh, okay.
I think he said that.
I think that song was born on third and thinks it got a triple. No, I do. I like Riot Act though, and that was.
I think it was an important song for that moment in time, and I do like. I like the blackout weaves its way through the city. I like the chorus, but yeah, definitely a bottom third, bottom 5% song for me in the catalog.
And it was also a lot of fun to have that come out while I was a huge fan and listen to new music.
I still really like that album. When I go back to it, I like the lushness of the recording. I think it's a great sounding record. I love Help Help. That's actually I like that song a lot. Think it's a cool lyric. Think it's a great Jeff tune. I love the bridge near the end, or the just quiet bridge, and then the Man They Call My Enemy section. Just the swirling paranoia of that song. I've always really liked it. I'm a little surprised you don't, but it's a bit of an outlier too. So,
well, that's one of the things I love about this band and their albums is that I listened to them a lot, and I still listen to them, but I still will listen to a song and be like, with a new appreciation. I would not write off Riot Act by any means. Backspacer, it doesn't have the depth that a lot of the albums have lyrically. So I don't know if there's anything on Backspacer I would rediscover on a re-listen right now.
Some of the punky moments are very cool. I really like Gonna See My Friend. I think that's one of their best openers, but the playing on it is less interesting than a lot of other records, and that just doesn't lend it to as many listens as the other ones for me.
I do think it's a little more straightforward, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it's more of a just kind of like, here's a rock and roll album.
It's a short record. I don't want to say it's insignificant. It's I think that's kind of the point, was for it to be a little buoyant instead of weighty, especially after Riot Act. So it's 2 albums later. You had Avocado in between, which was kind of Riot Act was the immediate aftermath of 9/11 and the War on Terror and the world situation, and it was a little resigned. And of course, Ross killed too, especially with Love Boat Captain, Ark. And then the Avocado record was kind of recapturing that fighting spirit. And I think I almost think of it as a trilogy. And Backspacer is a kind of a fitting end to that trilogy of records that were very much informed by the politics of the time and where we were in the world. But I definitely listened to it less than the rest of the albums.
Yeah, I do remember it coming out too, and I was really into it. And I still enjoy the songs, but yeah, that's probably my pick for least.
Would you say the album still has a few gems and rhinestones?
No,
you wouldn't say that. That would be well. On that note,
well, so we have plenty of more Pearl Jam related content coming up, as well as other music and other categories even. But just a quick shout out if you're looking for Pearl Jam related content podcasts. Live on Four Legs, they do great deep dives into live shows. Stay the Love and Trust podcast, very insightful.
Great guests. Yeah, great interview every time. And Live on Four Legs does great deep dives into the shows. So we listened to those podcasts and wanted to make sure that we did something a little different with ours. So we tried to keep ours more on the personal side. But if you're into the deep dives of the shows, or if you're into interviews with people that are big in the Pearl Jam community and even in the band itself, those 2 podcasts are the ones to listen to.
Yeah, and if you have any questions or comments, let us know. We love questions and comments, right?
Those are my favorite 2 things.
We don't respond to them. No,
I just read them.
No, but if you have any questions or comments, let us know. We'd love to interact with other fans and answer questions or whatever.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
So next time we're going to look at the 2003 shows that we went to.
One for me,
of them
two
was
for
just
you.
me.
Yep.
One of them was both of us, but the one we both went to was a big one. So
It's a doozy.
it's worth its own, just about its own episode. So that's going to be our cliffhanger.
It might be our last episode.
It's such an important show. We might not be able to
Ever
able to have
return.
another one. So you'll have to listen next time to figure out what it is, or read the title of the description. That might give it away too. We'll see.
Maybe I'll lie in the description.
That's true.
All right, let's hear your joke.
All right. You start the joke.
What's the joke?
You gotta ask
What?
if I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Oh my God.
All right. All right.
So you got to be like,
Oh, yeah. Wait,
this
okay.
is the beginning. Remember.
All right, here we go. We're about to record. Are you ready?
I'm not just ready. I'm Mike McReady. Like Mike McCready from the band. I'm so ready to talk about this stuff.
No, we're not.